Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the Kringle candle 14-ounce 3-wick candle in the scent Pistachio Crema. This was one of the 19 fragrances that dropped in the 3-wick format. The retail price of this is $24. However, I got this during the sale, which I think should still be going on, where if you pick up 3 of these 3 wicks, you only pay $33. The burn time is 45 plus hours. And the scent description listed online reads, Pistachio Crema, a delectable treat for your senses. Creamy pistachios blend with sweet pralines, creating a nutty sweet harmony, while sugared vanilla cream adds to a smooth, indulgent finish, perfect for anyone who loves a rich, comforting fragrance. Notes: top, dropped pistachio, mid, sweet pralines, base, sugared vanilla cream. So, okay, let me go ahead and talk about the packaging first. So I've said this in my other reviews for these limited edition candles, which was strawberry jam and melon medley, is that I don't necessarily like that the fragrance notes are listed, front and center on the label. Again, it is a little bit hard to see a light emitting from the candle because the label is pretty much opaque. You can't really see the flames too much. So at night, I tend to turn it over. But I mean, going back to the fragrance notes, I would rather have them listed somewhere in the candle. Normally Kringle now puts them at the bottom, but I guess the front is okay. But anyways, the label is okay. I like that it has pistachio ice cream, but I don't necessarily think that this candle smells exactly like pistachio ice cream, at least not in my opinion. The lid is a black lid. And again, it's not very cohesive with the other 18 candles that are a part of this collection because they have varying lids. Some of them have the embossed K and they're silver, and then the other ones are like copper hammered shiny lids. So there's that, but I do enjoy the mint green colored wax. But okay, let's talk about the fragrance. So when I first smelled this on cold, I got a hint of body care, which there was also a slight cherry note similar to either cherry pistachio fragrances or cherry almond fragrances. So to me, this candle leans a little bit more of a perfumey body care pistachio with hints of like gourmand in it, but it's not 100% gourmand. Because of that, I feel like this candle leans inedible versus edible, and that's mainly because of that perfumey pistachio quality / body care quality to it. I had my sister smell the candle on cold, and to her, she did get a pistachio ice cream scent. While I do get like a vanilla, like a creamy vanilla note, I feel like it almost smells a little bit cold. Maybe it could be trying to mimic that like cold ice cream scent, but to me, it leans more like cold lotion that you just pumped out of the bottle. The pralines were a little bit hard for me to detect initially, but I pick it up more while burning. It reminds me of like a creamy, nutty fragrance, a bit different from like creamy pistachio ice creams or fragrances that I would smell. It almost reminds me a little bit of hazelnut because I don't really care for hazelnut fragrances, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit of this nut or like this nutty note that I don't necessarily like. But anyways, let me go ahead and talk about the strength on cold and while burning. So the strength on cold was a solid 7 out of 10. And while burning, I'm happy to report that it was a solid medium. So it was like a 7, 7.5 out of 10. I haven't put this in a hurricane, but I can imagine this going a little bit stronger, perhaps to an 8. And I've been burning this in my medium-sized bedrooms. I haven't had any windows open or AC on. So it's pretty much just like light the candle and see what happens with no assistance from like airflow or any drafts or anything like that. The projection of this candle, I would give it slightly less. It'd be more of a 6.5 out of 10. So it does fill up my medium-sized room, and it kind of extends a little bit past the doorway, but it doesn't really get that far into the hallway. However, the projection that it does have, the strength is very medium. So it's very adequate. There's never a point in time where I can't smell this candle while I have it burning. And it is one of the stronger ones. Granted, I only got 3 candles from this collection, but it is definitely on the stronger side of the 3. I think right now the one that was the weakest was melon medley. Another good thing about this candle is after I extinguish it, it lingers in my room for at least an hour. It's not one of the ones where it will permeate your clothing and then you're going to go out and still smell like pistachio crema, but it will nicely die down but stay in the room for a little bit. All right, let me go ahead, change the angle because I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, and I'll talk about the performance. All right, so here's an overhead view of my candle. If you can see, my wax has fully liquefied almost all the way towards the bottom. I'll show you the side view in a bit. But yeah, very pretty dark green wax while it is burning. My flames are pretty, in my opinion, they're pretty strong. And I did do a mid-burn trim. So initially I wanted to have this burning for 3 to 4 hours, but I noticed that my flames were getting a little bit kind of like this, but just slightly more crazy. It does still form teeny tiny mushroom tops after about an hour and a half. So I did trim those off. And I think because this candle is burning a lot stronger than, let's say, melon medley, I'll probably continue to trim the wick after each and every burn. But again, because it's burning stronger, I think that's causing it to really push out the scent. So I don't necessarily think I need to put this in a hurricane because I think the candle is doing well at having healthy flames by itself. But anyways, as far as the other performance, despite the flames being a little bit on the strong side, I haven't noticed any instances of soot emitting from the candle. I haven't had any mushroom top fallout. Granted, I've been trimming my wicks. The glue hasn't come undone, so my wicks aren't really like curling into the wax and extinguishing. They're not shifting. With some other issues, my wax is still this nice, pretty mint green color. So yeah, no issues whatsoever besides some strong flames. So I would probably recommend to trim your wicks and or try to keep your burn time to more like 2 hours. And if you go past the 2-hour mark, I would say maybe just extinguish the flames, do a quick trim, and immediately relight. But yeah, this candle throws the scent almost immediately. I would say after about 15 minutes, I'm getting like little wafts of it, and about at the 30-minute mark, I feel like I can already smell this candle. So there's never a point in time when I'm burning this candle that I don't know I have a candle burning. Like, you know how sometimes you have this very weak candle burning in the room and you almost forget that it's there? This one is definitely not one of those candles that fall into that category. Again, this candle does linger a while, so I feel like I do have to air out my room if I have another candle burning, or let's say I want to review another candle. I do have to wait a little bit for the scent to dissipate, which is great, especially if it's only coming from this, 14-ounce 3-wick candle. And I feel like despite this being 100% soy, sometimes a candle starts off weak, or sometimes it starts off strong and then it dies down, or like different variations of that. I feel like the strength and throw have been very consistent throughout the burn of this candle. So pretty much the strength and throw that I'm getting right now, I got it during my first burn, which I am very happy. So let me go ahead, change the angle once more, and I'll show you how it looks like from the side. Here is the promised side view of Pistachio Crema. If you can see, my wax is almost fully liquefied. This is how the mint green color looks while burning. This is definitely not soot or anything. And sometimes when I burn it, I like turning it to the side because I can see the flames. Here's a frontal view of Pistachio Crema. And I don't know if you can kind of see what I'm talking about when I mean that the label is very, I guess, thick, or maybe it's the type of label used that you can't see the flame. You are able to see a little bit of the light in the back. But yeah, that's one thing that I would like to see changed. I know that these aren't going to be the format that Kringle uses for their 3-wick candles. So hopefully whatever their new format is, you are able to see the flame through the label. But that's just like a personal preference. But overall, I'm very happy with Pistachio Crema. I like that it has a clean performance. The only, non-issue, if it is even one, is that this one is burning a bit hotter, so I do have to trim it more mid-burn, or I need to limit my burn time to maybe like 2 hours. But overall, and even when I burn it to like, let's say 3 hours without trimming, I don't notice any instances of soot, no discoloration, no issues with the wicks falling, drifting, anything like that. So overall, I'm very satisfied. I think the issue that some people might have is that they see the label and they see pistachio ice cream, and that's not necessarily what I smell. I pick up this body care perfumey pistachio note, and I feel like there's almost maybe even like a musk in here at the base, because I do pick up the creaminess from a pistachio, the nuttiness from the pralines, the sugared vanilla cream. It's somewhat there, but it's not necessarily mimicking the fragrance that you would get from like a cold scoop of vanilla ice cream. Oh, and another big thing is that I do detect a cherry note in here. And I know a lot of people are very picky with cherry fragrances. It doesn't smell like a bad cherry. It's not medicinal and it's not candy-like, but it does lean a little bit like cherry pistachio and or cherry almond. The cherry almond, it could be coming a little bit from the praline, because I believe pralines can also lean a bit almond-like. Just a warning, if you're very picky with cherry fragrances, I do detect it with this pistachio crema. But overall, would I recommend it? Yes, I would, as long as you're not super or overly picky with cherry fragrances. This one will perform. I would even venture off and try to put this in an open concept space or like a living room. For example, I almost exclusively burn all my candles in my medium-sized bedroom, but when I had this also burning in my sister's room, which is smaller than mine, it performed well in that environment as well. So would I recommend it? Yes. Would I repurchase it? I don't know, because always with Kringle candles, I like to try, I guess, new fragrances. And while this one is very nice, I don't think that it is a fragrance that I love. So yeah, that has been my experience with Pistachio Crema from Kringle Candle, 3-wick, 14 ounce, 100% soy colored wax. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye.